NFL free agency is fast approaching, and one of the teams that desperately needs to do something positive for themselves are the Seattle Seahawks. Over the course of the past couple of weeks, really 8 days at this point, even though it feels like it's been 3 weeks, in March, they've made a few trades and moves that are a little bit questionable when you look into what they're trying to do as a team. I'm going to be looking through the moves they've made and whether or not they make any sense. I don't want this video to take particularly long. I just figured I was seeing a lot about it, and I wanted to look into it a little bit further. So the Seattle Seahawks have been in limbo for the past couple of years. They haven't had a record outside of 7-10 and 10-7 since 2020 with Russell Wilson. And all the while, they've been stuck in the same spot. Win 9 to 10 games, maybe make the first round of the playoffs and lose immediately. So this is not where you want to be as a team because it means you're not getting good draft picks and you're not winning rings. So they needed to do something. They either needed to make moves to make themselves a contender now or make moves so that they can get rid of some of their important pieces and eventually make their way to having a bunch of draft picks to pick up talent in the future. So I went through all the trades that they've made, including the DK Metcalf trade, even though he hasn't officially been traded yet, he's going to be, and listed them all in a little Google Doc that I'm going to go over with you. So the Seattle Seahawks March has consisted of out of their lineup, out of their roster, they have gotten rid of defensive end Roy Robertson Harris, defensive end Draymond Jones, DB Rayshon Jenkins, offensive tackle George Fant, wide receiver Tyler Lockett, and quarterback Geno Smith. So they got rid of their quarterback, their wide receiver one, and four guys who weren't particularly doing anything. So the four guys, they're great talent. They're obviously very good, but they're not particularly doing anything right now. I understand why you would release someone like that. I get it. Now, one of them, I think it was Draymond Jones, was having a solid season, but nothing particularly crazy. And Rayshon Jenkins wasn't having a particularly bad one either. But if they're not really doing anything and you want to set up a new defense, I perfectly understand those four moves. A plus, whatever you have to do, okay. What I don't get is the release of Tyler Lockett and the trade of Geno Smith. You have not necessarily a franchise guy, but a guy that will keep you as a team that is good for a little bit longer. But Seattle has been trying to be a team that is good since 2020 when they went 13-3. That's a record you want to keep. The year after that, they went 7-10, and as I mentioned earlier, that ever since they've been between 7-10 and 10-7. So you either make a move to be good or you make a move to be bad. And this is making a move to be bad and get better draft picks. So what they did was they released Tyler Lockett, one of their star receivers. He's been there for a decade now. I understand that he's getting older, but I think keeping him around potentially as like a coach or maybe just as like a third string wideout and lower his veteran contract, that would have worked perfectly. Just restructure the deal. There you go. But they release him and they also trade Geno Smith. So back to Geno Smith, which I started with at the beginning. So Geno Smith was working great in Seattle. 2022 had a great run. 2023 had a solid run. 2024 had a solid run. I think they made the playoffs 2 out of those 3 years. So overall, not bad. Lost both times, I'm pretty sure. And there you go. That's all Geno Smith was good for. He was the poor man's Baker Mayfield. Actually, no, they're the same guy. Baker Mayfield and Geno Smith are the same dude, actually. So not even the poor man's Baker Mayfield. It's just if the poor man has Baker Mayfield, another poor man has Geno Smith. And that's what the situation is. So the Bucks and Seahawks are similar in that sense, where they'll make the playoffs, not get good draft picks, lose quickly. But at least the Bucks win games in the playoffs. Not all the time, but they do win. They won last year. They won the year before that. They lost this year, but oh well. The Seahawks didn't even make the playoffs this year. So you know what? I'm defending my point. Geno Smith is a poor man's Baker Mayfield. Deal with it. So you trade Geno Smith, and if I was a team like the Seahawks and I am trading Geno Smith, I want probably like a third rounder and like a 5 or a 6 to go along with him. Or if you're going to add a 6, maybe a 6-7. Huh, get it? 6-7. Anyways, I want at least some value out of the trade. I don't want to just get rid of him for cheap. But the Seahawks made a very basic trade with the Raiders. They get Geno. Seahawks get a third rounder. And I guess with the way he's been playing, it's not particularly wild, but Geno almost led the league in passing yards last year. I'm pretty sure he was close-ish this year, although he's no Joe Burrow. So I don't really understand this. I think they probably could have gotten a second rounder for him. However, there was a mentioned trade that it was going to be DK and Geno for Max Crosby, which is a wild trade. But hey, I respect them for trying that. Anyways, they still got rid of Geno, which means let's look at what they brought in. So they brought in corner Josh Jobe. They re-signed him to a deal and a 2025 third round pick. That is it in Seattle. That is the only things they have brought back. A third rounder and a corner who is pretty good. And I haven't even gotten to DK Metcalf yet. Like, DK Metcalf is a scary person. He's gigantic, hella strong, and and pretty good. So when you see like him wanting to be traded, you don't think of him being like, "Hey guys, I'm not really liking my time here in Seattle. Can I please get traded?" And it's like, "I want out of here. This place sucks. Trade me somewhere else." Like angry or Myles Garrett. And I don't know where he's going to end up going. There are a lot of teams that could be potential suitors for DK. I've heard rumors of Washington. I've heard rumors of Nolans. Hopefully, I hope he goes to Nolans with when we inevitably trade for Patrick Mahomes for a 7th round pick. Am I right? Am I right? So I like that DK is making moves for himself, but the Seahawks themselves are in a dismal situation right now because they've been in that spot of eternally mid that the players on their team don't want to play for them, because if you're bad, you have the draft to look forward to. See the Chicago Blackhawks. They suck in the NHL. They sucked last year, 2 years ago actually. They got Connor Bedard. They sucked the year after that. They got another high draft pick. They suck this year. They're going to get another high draft pick. So they're going to have a team to build on. Not the Seahawks, because they don't have any of that, because they're a mid team. And then winning teams, they get to enjoy winning games, making the playoffs, making it far in the playoffs. So it's not a situation of, oh man, we just missed the playoffs, or we bounced in the first round again, like et cetera, et cetera. It's just eternal midness, and that's the problem in Seattle. That's why DK wants out. I'm not surprised by that. We'll see where he ends up going. But I was looking through all the Seahawks trades and transactions and everything. I wanted to make a short video about it because I thought it was really funny. Make sure you have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning, good dawn, good dusk, whatever. Make sure to watch any former or future videos on this channel. And goodbye.